Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of JBS Stories of Innovation. And today we'll be talking about real or fake, the shift that is happening because of all of the AI content that is now taking over the world. So at JBS also, there's been a huge shift in how we run our business. From being a technology services-led organization, we are now an AI-oriented organization. And behind this whole shift is a very young and energetic team leading this whole shift. We have AI data scientists, we have engineers, and a very energetic team. And leading that pack of young, energetic people is a very young, energetic lady herself, Anushay Rashid. Anushay, welcome to our podcast on real or fake AI.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. It's really exciting to have you here, and we're going to be sort of unpacking what's real, what's not real, and how do we go about it from here. So, but before we kick off, just tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to where you are right now.
So, my name's Anushay. I run a department called JBS Alpha. And this department essentially was created so that we could, as JBS, come up with new IPs, new products that would solve the problems of our customers, right? We're inundated with these LLMs, these GPTs, but how does that actually impact the problems that we're trying to solve? Does it really do that? And that's really what my department is focused on. And and I think it'll be really interesting to see what we can uncover with real or fake.
So, Anushay, we're now in a world where videos, digital content, images, we cannot tell what's real, what's not. And the quality of the content is getting better and better on a daily basis. And the problem that I see is that not only is this gaining traction, but the fact that people want to use this more and more. And what I can't get around my head is that why is this gaining so much traction? Where do you see it, especially in the media, in incredible sources of media, this is really getting traction. So where do you think this is all stemming from?
So I think there's actually multiple angles to this, right? What tends to happen right now that I'm seeing, at least as a 20-something myself, we as humans are huge consumers, right? And I think to an extent, we were running out of content. When this AI boom sort of happened in generative AI, right? We started seeing less and less of user-generated content. Essentially, the workflow of user-generated content simply can't keep up with AI-generated content. And we as users, we have problems, right? We want new content every time. Our attention span is just gone at this point. We need something interesting. And I think that's where the boom really happened, aside from it being used within like ads and marketing agencies and stuff like that. I'm really talking about the user-generated content of this. And that's, I think, because we wanted so much content and we're such big consumers of drama, that's where I think it originated.
Yeah. So do you think there's some novelty factor here, or there's some deep psychological thing that's going on in consumers that why are they, do you think it's just something that's going to come and go very quickly?
So I think, yes, it will come and go really quickly, but to the point where we've always seen in our content new trends, right? So we're going to shift from one trend to the other. Currently, what we're seeing is that fruit-based content is really, really popular. Every single algorithm seems to be overpopulated, oversaturated with animated reels of just fruits interacting, and like they're really pushing the drama of it all, right? But I think that also came from our love for things like Love Island or reality TV shows, right? And that's what people who are behind that AI creation that are really following that.
Yeah, I really want to come back to this, the whole fruit sort of content, but um, just to wrap up the starting point, what do you think is the issue around the credibility? Because credibility is, of course, a really really important point for serious users of content and serious people in the digital world. Um, and consumers of the news, of the media, they want credible sources, right? But because of this immense increase in such content, the credibility factor is slowly going down. And now you look at everything with a pinch of salt and you want verification whether this is real or fake. So, where do you stand on the whole credibility factor when you're kind of developing things for the media?
Okay. So I want to cover this in three aspects. So if I forget, I need you to remind that these are the three aspects. So there's business, of course. There's business and there's politics, right? Then there's your ad generations, right? So whether it's for brands or it's for any sort of company. Right? And then there's user-generated content, which I want to leave towards the end. So as far as credibility for brands go, in terms of the content that they're generating through AI, they're going to lose credibility for sure, right? If somebody can tell if it's AI or not, and that's mostly because humans, regardless of the fact that they really like to consume, they also really put an emphasis on genuine creativity, right? So for them, it becomes less about, oh, this is AI generated, but rather what was that thought process behind it? Like, so as an example, there is this clothing brand in Pakistan who recently, or rather it was last year, like 6 months ago or something, that they released a whole campaign that was AI generated, right? From what I've seen about the conversation around that, A, it was very obvious that it was AI. B, this thought process behind it was really, really bad. So in that, it's a dual sort of thing. So if you can retain creative ownership and be like, oh, this is a very thought out, storyboard or thought out creative, whatever the word is, they, like, humans are not gonna be that upset about it. Right. It's just, did you even put in the effort, or were you so inclined to AI efficiency that you didn't even think about it, right? And that's like on like the brand aspect of things, and where your business or your political stuff gets in, right? So that is very, very tricky. I don't believe anything in your business or your political realm, your economic sense of things, right, should ever be influenced by AI, especially generative AI, right? We need to figure out ways to sort of spot those fake imagery that's going around, right? We need to be able to tell, okay, was this real, or is this something that's being regurgitated? Some 3-year-old stock image is being used for generating a new video or something like that, right? And it just shouldn't be used. And that's really credibility, right? Nobody should be passing it off as authentic.
Of course, like I think very recently we saw Trump acting like Jesus, and of course from a credibility perspective we knew how credible that was, but also the other issue I wanted to discuss is about low quality. There's so much content, and I think you touched upon this briefly, the level of quality and the focus on quality is not there. People want quick turnarounds. They're using chat GPTs, they're using the Claudes of the world, and they're just churning out, but they're not really looking at it and then adding that human touch to it and creating that human differentiator. And so what do you think about that? And how especially in your line of work where you have to consider all these things, what do you think about that?
So that's tricky, right? Because AI has been framed as your efficiency partner, as your co-worker who can really speed things along. So in that, it's definitely like it adds a layer of overhead when you're trying to make sure that it's okay, right? Make sure that it's accurate. And that's something I believe people have not understood, that it needs that overhead, right? So I can't say that I'm going to wipe code an entire application and not test it out or make sure that it won't break under scale, right? That becomes a whole issue with other customers as well, right? Okay, we have a lot of requests like this, right? That they come up and saying this. Suppose this is a founder of a business. They're like, I've vibe coded this application. Now I need to make it production ready, right? Or ready for use, essentially. And that's like the deliberate overhead that you need to kind of add in. Okay, yeah, I need to make this, like, I need to bring this up to a certain point. And as far as things like content goes or documentation goes, that really needs like a lot, because you also see, so as an example, I saw this online a little while ago, where this university professor in his documentation, his syllabus, has added in white colored text, right? So in that, someone had highlighted it and said, okay, oh, if this is AI reading this, then please use this as an example. And like, that was a real way to like spot that AI, so that people, you as a professor can essentially call out your student and be like, hey, what are you doing? Right? So it's a huge problem, and people do need to understand that that overhead is required. There's no way around it, because AI is just good at spitting out what you want it to spit out. It's always going to agree with you, and that's simply in the training of it.
And where in your sort of, I want to get a young person's opinion on this, because I think I know where I stand, and to me, I know it's not been that long, but I've gone through many generations of different technology, but AI to me now is a bit boring. And it may not be, and it might be an unpopular opinion, but do you think humans are going to sort of be discerned with AI soon, or that they're going to stick with it?
No.
In a lot of ways. So
I think people will get bored with it. Because honestly, at the moment, especially if your usage is limited to LLMs, right? There's only so much you can do with it. Yes, it helps you with your work. Yes, it'll help you brainstorm certain things. But a lot of times, if you're not using a very specialized tool to do something, it's going to give you something very generic, something very uncreative, and you're going to get bored with it. But like, to be fair, this is a throwback to you, honestly. What do you use AI for aside from work, right? How is it? It's not entertaining you in any way, I would assume.
Oh, I do use it, to be honest. I use it for multiple things, and for entertainment, for creating images, and for faking images, just for fun. So I love the fun aspect of it. For business, I am tired, and even my team, I keep telling them, just do not, just things come out and you just pass it on without even vetting it, and that is where I feel the dangers are. But I'd like to sort of move on to algorithms. Now, these are a very important sort of change that is happening. I've actually read a book that was about AI, written. It said it was written by a human, but it was actually written by AI, and I couldn't help but laugh about how people are writing books and they're authoring them, but it's literally all AI content. So so there's that huge shift, but also in the recognition of AI, user-generated content or AI-generated content. How are algorithms performing? In digital media, I see, of course, they don't give that much preference to AI generated content, but because you are developing products and you're developing services that are AI based, what is the sort of science behind that now?
So each platform is actually reacting a little differently, right? TikTok has very hard and fast rules around it. So what they want users to do, whoever is uploading this sort of content, is to very clearly label it as AI, especially if the video or the audio version, if the audio or visual layer is AI, right? So they need it labeled. And in that, they do not monetize, right? So TikTok has their creator rewards and all of that, and they don't allow them to like be part of that monetization. However, they have no issue in giving AI content. Like if for example, if you're using AI for your research, for your transcripting, for your subtitling, they don't have an issue in that, right? So those AI workflows behind generating content, no issues with that. But if your video or your audio is generated by AI, then they're going to demonetize it. So you're not going to be able to monetize that. Meta apparently is the most permissive of it, right? So they will let you post whatever you really want. They will even let you monetize it, provided it is getting the popularity that they associate with something that is influencer content.
Yeah.
Right. In the same vein, there's also your influencers, your AI influencers on Meta, and they have no problems with that because they deem it genuine content in the end, right? So it's popular, people are interested in it, and it's came from some sort of thought. From what I know about Twitter, they're very AI neutral. They don't really have a real policy around it. And YouTube is okay with AI generated content, similar to the way Meta is like okay if it's if it's authentic, if it's gaining traction, etc. But they're not okay with what they term as AI slop. Everyone terms it at this point, right? So because of that, if it's not genuine, if it's not gaining any traction, then it simply can't be monetized. So that's really the.
So Anushay, is the question around more engagement or the fact that whether it is AI generated or not? So if I produce AI generated content, if people are engaging with it, are you saying that monetization will happen? Or and the other thing I want to really know is that when I do partial AI and I do partial user generated content, how is that seen across the platforms?
So as far as it's as long as it's partial, then it's okay because so for as an example, if suppose you put something on TikTok, right? What TikTok is really doing is it's analyzing what you've put out. It's trying to see if there's any invisible watermarks. So in that, it might be able to tell if a partially generated image is, it's from some sort of AI. So it'll be able to sort of tell that, right? But you have a layer on top, essentially, where that human input is still coming through. So you may not get penalized for that, but I can't seem to guarantee that it would have monetization on TikTok specifically. I don't think you'd have any problems on Instagram. I'm actually not sure about LinkedIn. But as long as you're authentic about it and there's real engagement over there, then your platforms aren't necessarily gonna devalue you in the algorithm.
Anusha, do you think there is a shift from content creation to distribution and amplification now on all these platforms? Or do you think there's equal sort of efforts being made on the content creation and equally on the distribution?
So I think there's still an equal effort being placed on content creation, because at this point what's happening is that your users are user-generated content, your influencers, your people putting up their face out into the world like that, right? They're fighting for attention, right? And and when I say fighting for attention is because you need to engage a user, someone else, in 3 seconds. 3 seconds flat, right? No one sticks around longer than that. That's where doom scrolling sort of comes in, right? And what I would say that they're fighting for attention is that AI content, and I mentioned this earlier, this fruit-generated content, these animations that are like intense drama, right? They can do it. They can do it in 2 seconds flat, right? You're like, oh, this fruit is having a baby, right?
Yeah.
So you're fighting for that attention. So users are working twice as hard for it.
Yeah.
They're reacting to AI content. They're creating newer trends out of it, right? So it's still there. The efforts on that. Distribution, I'm not sure about actually. I wouldn't say that people are putting less efforts in that either. But it's not. I don't believe it's more important than the
Generating content.
generating
Okay.
actual like
Yeah.
authentic content, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Because the algorithm rewards your engagement, right?
Yeah.
If someone sticks around for longer, like they watch the entire video, then the algorithm rewards you.
Okay.
On YouTube, so that's Instagram, right? On YouTube, they reward full session times.
Okay.
Right. So how many people are watching your reel and then they're going to your actual video, the full video, or they're going to your page and watching something else. So that's how it really works. So people are still fighting for attention, and I think that that'll just grow stronger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting because I want to come to a point that I think is highly disturbing, and that is around deepfakes and AI, and especially in politics, which of course impacts the whole globe, and in business, of course, which you and I on a daily basis are getting impacted by. It is a very concerning issue, and but I want to know a bit more about, as someone who's leading an area where you're talking about AI development, you're working with companies who want AI services, and so what is the conversation that you're having with them? Are businesses prepared for the risks that come with synthetic content?
Personally, I don't think they are. I don't believe that they're thinking about it enough. So we try to fit in compliance as a conversation in every one of our meetings, because it's really just that important, right? What they are seemingly concerned with is really their data being leaked out. They're not concerned that much with synthetic content as far as it goes into like advertising or like media generation and stuff, right? They will be concerned where you're talking about their data and you're talking about their sales numbers, or you're talking about their policies and things like that. So that's where they're concerned. Okay, is this factual for internal use? Is it factual for external use? There's still a bit of a gray area over there. As far as politics go, I think people really need to start being a bit more responsible about it. But I think humans are really like interested in the drama of it all. I'm sorry, I keep saying drama, but that's what it is, right? So a certain politician right now we all believe to be dead, right? We humans were like, okay, this person is dead. These are deepfakes. These are old images. These are AI generated, right? And like I saw full like batches of people over analyzing an image or a video and being like, okay, this part's fake. This part is fake. Do you see that? That's this is the thing, myself. Right? This is why it's AI generated. This is why it's a deepfake. And so I think we're notoriously bad at spotting deepfakes, first of all, which is why it's so much more important to figure out how do you, on a government scale or like a global scale, enforce something where deepfakes are not that much of a problem, because AI generation, like video generation through AI, is so democratized at this point that you need some sort of guardrails, right? Maybe it's not like you can't generate someone else's face. Maybe that's a sort of rule, right? The unfortunate problem with that would be that every AI company would like have your face at that point, which adds like another layer of risk altogether. So guardrails are really, really important here. I think it's very much on like news outlets and economic, pages and forums to also put that guardrail into whatever they publicize, that hey, I cannot put out any sort of deep fake. I need to be able to vet this first and then put it out. There needs to be disclaimers. Like I know one or two of the news agencies here, whenever they post an AI generated image, they write it
Yeah,
there.
they have it. They have
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
You know, this image is just for reference's sake.
Yes.
It's made from AI and all that.
Mm.
So it's really important for, you know, politics that
Mm.
we are very transparent about that.
Yeah.
But us as humans, we need to really be on the lookout for this sort of things
Yeah.
also, right? Because you can give your imagery to every single company out there, and someone is gonna hack in and like,
Yeah.
you know, steal that. So yeah.
So I think this kind of nicely brings us into the whole IP space. Your division, which is JBS Alpha, you are actively building IPs and you're working with different industries, finding out their problems and building solutions that are AI based, and but you're also protecting your IP. How difficult is it right now to protect that space when we've spoken so much about just the hacking into that space where AI has taken over and there is so much misinformation and disinformation? How do you protect your IP space?
So that's an interesting question, because obviously we're in a space where we're creating digital products. We're not exactly in a space where we're creating content, right? However, it'll be really important for when we do end up marketing those products. What's really important for us when we're using AI and we're creating IPs is that we know exactly what we're researching, right? We're not dependent on AI to make decisions for us. Rather, we're just depending on AI to bring that information to us, because the internet is a huge place at this point. So it's really, again, it's in the efficiency of it, but never do we want to take away the human aspect of things, right? Making that decision, collaborating with our stakeholders, understanding, does this even like fit whatever AI has given us? Does it fit what we're talking about with our customers or not? So it's not like we're creating it just on the basis of vibes. It has to be very well thought out. And while we're AI led, I would not say that AI is our overlord or something like that, right? So it's still very authentic in that. Where I become a little bit more concerned is that when we're training new models, when we're trying to fine tune something, or we're trying to create something that's very much trained on a customer's data, is that we're really careful about how we do it. So if data can be anonymized, if it can be encrypted, we do that, right? If it can be, if the industry's regulations don't allow it, we don't put it on cloud either, right?
Yeah.
And that's like the one major way that people are looking at safeguarding their IPs or their authentic content, or their confidential company information, right? You put it on prem, you disconnect it from the internet, so there's no leakage in that aspect. Then you have other secure clouds, right, where you are sort of dependent on like a third party to safeguard that information, but there's like guardrails for everything, right?
But so what is ownership then? I mean, when you were working in that AI driven sort of content, if I had to ask you the definition of the word ownership, how would you define ownership?
Where LLMs are concerned, how was an LLM created, right? Three big companies in the world decided to take all of the data available on the internet, and simply train their large language model on that, right? Now, the thing is that not everything on the internet it's not all copyright protected, but some of it is, right? There's a lot of intellectual property on the internet that is just there for the sake of being able to bring traction back to you, right? That's how artists have forever functioned. That's how, you have a lot of pirated stuff on the internet also, right? Just because it's been pirated once and put on the internet doesn't mean an artist or a creator deserves to have their IP being used in the AI training of it. So ownership is really, really complicated over there because we already had we already had piratation, right? So what is happening in the world right now as far as art is concerned? Artists are filing lawsuits against the big three, essentially, who have now become Anthropic, Google, and OpenAI. So, like, you have lawsuits pending, and then they're having to the big companies are having to delete all of that, and or they pay it off.
Does that mean that they are actually restricting the data that we get?
Yes,
by doing that?
essentially
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
right, and they'd have to,
Yeah.
in a legal world at least. I don't know. I'm actually not sure if they're winning or not. The small creators, right? Like how much can you actually fight a large giant like that? So there's a lot of back and forth on that right now. The debate is that, hey, I own this content. You shouldn't be able to use this. You shouldn't be able to use this art style. And I agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Because if you keep going in that route, what your LLM companies, all they do is that they take things off the internet and they retrain their thing, their LLM. What ends up happening is that there's AI generated on the internet, AI generated art, AI generated content on the internet. At some point, that's all you're going to have. Right, so there's this whole concern about content or art eventually just being AI slop, because it's essentially going to keep caving in on itself. Essentially, there's AI on one side, there's AI on the other side, there's an LLM in the middle. All you're getting is AI slop. So authentic content essentially is going to run out from the world at some point.
Okay.
Because of this ownership debate also.
So that's quite interesting. So it is interesting. So just to wrap up, you remember when we used, well, maybe not you, but in the good old days, they always ask us and during interviews, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yes.
I want to know that what are you doing right now to make sure that within 5 years your business still remains relevant and you are a successful business, because right now we can't even predict what's going to happen in 6 months. So I'd love to hear what you guys are doing to protect your future.
So one thing, of course, we're definitely concerned with this, right? Because AI is moving so fast, technology is moving so fast that it's really difficult to keep up sometimes. But personally, what I believe is that's where really the edge is. Your companies, so what's happening, right? You come up with a startup, you come up with a product, and you're like, yes, Claude doesn't have this, Anthropic doesn't have this, Gemini doesn't have this. And then 2 days later, Anthropic comes up with the same thing. And now, because it's in like your Claude ecosystem, your third user is just going to be like, hey, why should I get like a third subscription for this, right? Why wouldn't I just use this in that ecosystem? So that's one thing that we're trying to be really, really careful of, right? So it shouldn't be an idea or a problem that can be solved by just creating it into the Claude ecosystem, as an example. So that's why we put so much focus on the authentic understanding of what an existing problem is. So I'm not going to say that I'm just rewriting something. I'm not going to say that I'm just regenerating something, right? I need to find that aspect where, there's a middle ground in it, right? Yes, I'm generating something. Yes, I'm rewriting something. But what am I really doing with that? Right? Where is that end goal really going? Why did someone feel like they needed to generate this image? Why did they think that they needed to rework this content? And that's how we're really going to survive, is coming up with authentic problems to solve. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, and it's been great talking to you. Congratulations for being the youngest member of the leadership team, and it's great to have you with us, and to hear your views on what's real and what's fake. So thank you very much, and we hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you for having us.
Yeah.